Hello, my name is James Clark. I'm the new executive chef here at the Carolina Crossroads restaurant here at the beautiful Carolina Inn in Chapel Hill. I just got here about a month ago and I'm really excited about being here. I came up from South Carolina and really glad to be a part of the community here at Chapel Hill and at the Carolina Inn. Today for our recipe, we're going to be doing pickled cucumbers. Since it's the middle of the summertime and those gardens are starting to push those cucumbers out, so it's time to start doing something with them because you can only eat so many salads, so you want to carry on those great pickles throughout the year. So the most important thing is when you start to sit down to pickle anything or make jams or jellies or canned tomatoes or anything like that, you want to make sure you have everything set up and ready to go if you want to have a great pickling experience. So first off, I just want to go through a few steps that we've got set up. We've got our big pot of water and our pickling, our sealing pot here that has full of water, so it's set and ready to go. We've got our pot here so that we can warm up our pickling liquid and dissolve the sugar and the salt in there. We've got our pickles, of course, or our cucumbers cut up that are going to turn into pickles. And then we have all of our little pieces and ingredients and things that are all going to go inside the jar. Okay? So first off, what I like to do is when we're pickling is that you've got to sterilize your jars because you want to make sure that they're extremely clean. And the best way to do that is to start them into simmering water. I would suggest going to, if you're going to do a lot of pickling or any pickling at all, is I would suggest going to the store and getting one of these pickling kits. Now people might make fun of you for getting it, but it's worth its weight in gold. So it's simple, just to put the jars right down into the water that's simmering, submerge it down in that water. And I like to let them sit in there for, at least 2 or 3, 4 minutes while I'm getting the rest of my things ready to go. So for the lids and the bands, what I normally do, and so when they get down in there, they'll sort of swim around in that water. I like to take a little bowl and I'll fill it with water, but not all the way to the top, so it'll just float. That way, my lids, my bands can kind of hang out up there on the top and not swim around and hard to catch in that hot water that you really want to be careful with. So now that I've got those sterilizing, I'm going to start with getting my pickling liquid up to a simmer and get it hot to start my pickling process. So in the pot already, I've got 4 cups of water. Now you could go straight with the white vinegar, but I'm going to cut it in half. And instead of doing 4 cups of white vinegar, I'm going to do 2 cups of white vinegar, and I'm also going to do 2 cups of apple cider vinegar as well, just to give it a little bit of flavor. I don't go all the way with the apple vinegar because it'll make the pickling liquid really brown and not clear. So I'm going to pour that in there as well and get that nice and hot. So while that's coming up to a simmer, I'm going to add in my 3½ cups of sugar, and I'm going to add in my ½ cup of salt. Now this is pickling salt. The difference between pickling salt, kosher salt, or any other kind of salt is that pickling salt doesn't have these anti-cake additives that sort of bond it together. So the kosher salt, it has that anti-caking agent added in. It's flavorless. But what will happen is if you use it for pickling, it'll just cloud up the pickling liquid inside. You want a nice clear look to your pickles when you have them in your cupboard or you give them to a friend. Because that's the best part about pickling is being able to share this as well. So now I'm going to get my stuff together and ready to go into the jars. And I've picked up these pickling cucumbers. They're local here. And it's good to get a pickle or a cucumber that's end to end even. It's when they're small and thin and sort of crazy shape to them, they don't make a consistent cut. And you want the pickles to be sort of consistent across the board because that way they'll cure and turn into pickles consistently, and the texture will be consistent. So I just simply remove the end, the vine end from it, and then I cut them about a ½ inch in wheels, all the way straight through. And then once I've got them all cut, sitting together in the bowl, I've got everything ready to go. I like to also put a little bit of a spicy pepper or serrano. It can be a jalapeno. It can be any kind of pepper you like. And I just split that right in half. Because I'm only going to put about a half in per jar. Okay? So, back to my kit that I picked up that everyone made fun of me for. Watch this. This is fun. See, it's got a magnet on the end of it so that you don't have to reach your hand in there and get it. So I like, actually I'm going to leave that in there first. I'm going to pull my jar out. Let those continue to sterilize. And then before I get my lids out, I'm going to take and fill my jars with just a little bit of dill seed. So we're making dill pickles. And I like to put in a little bit of fennel seed, just a little bit, in each jar. And then I also put a couple of garlic cloves in each jar, depending on the size of the garlic clove. And then I start putting my pickles in. And you want to kind of get them in there nice and firm into that hot jar. So you can you're almost a little bit forceful with them, so that they'll really pack in there nice and tight. And when I'm about halfway up the jar, on both of them, packing them in nice and tight, that's when I put in my serrano leaves. Right on the top, right on the top. And then I put in a little bit of fresh, oh, that's a little much. I put in a little bit of fresh dill. This one, this one. Then I go back to packing the pickles with jars. Or pickles in the jars. How about that? All right. I'm going to keep those clean on my cutting board right there. My liquids come up to a simmer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the liquid, it has the sugar and salt in it, and I'm just going to spoon it right on top of the pickles, or the cucumbers. And I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch on top open, because when you're cooking or sealing the jars, you need to have that space in there so that it can expand when it heats up. So I'll bring it right up to the bottom of the pan. And then with my towel, make sure everything's nice and clean. It's warm and hot, so be careful. And on my lid, because you want to get a nice clean seal. And remember, you can only use these once. So once you seal with them one time, can't seal with them again. I'm going to clean those and dry any excess water I have off on the top and the bottom. And on my bands, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Clean any excess water off there. And I'm going to tighten them down. But you don't have to Popeye it. You just give it a good firm twist and a turn. For these smaller ones, I'm going to set them right back into the water. And I'm going to let them sit and seal for about 15 minutes. And then of course with more jars, you can continue to do that process. So I like to have a few of them going and a few of them here so that I can do a few at a time and keep myself busy all the way through it. So after about 15 minutes, just pulled these out about an hour ago, and you'll want to take a look and see that the liquid's all the way to where you started it, because if it's a little lower than that, that means you might have a break or seal in your seal, so it's getting out and it's not good. You don't want to, this won't be shelf stable, you want to keep it in the refrigerator, but it looks like it's all good. And then I just test the top, and if the top has any give to it, then that means it's not sealed. You got to wait until it's cool before you can find out if that top's sealed or not. Once it comes out of the hot liquid, it'll still pop up and down. But once it's sealed down and doesn't pop back up, it's sealed and ready to go. So after about 3 weeks, the pickles have been done. You just pull them right out. That seal is, and you're ready to eat pickles. So I hope this was helpful on pickling cucumbers today. I look forward to having you and your guests come in and join us at Carolina Crossroads sometime. And thank you so much for viewing our video today.